Have you ever trusted someone whose smile felt just a little too perfect? The kind that warms the room while quietly studying your every move. Some people don't seek connection, they seek access to your peace, your energy, your mind. The Stoics saw this kind of evil long before we had words for it. Calm, calculated, hidden behind charm. But there's a way to outsmart it without becoming like it. Stay with me. As we step into the first chapter, picture this: a crowded room filled with the noise of conversation, yet your silence draws more attention than words ever could. There's something unsettling about a person who observes quietly, who listens without revealing, who carries calm instead of chatter. Manipulators hate that kind of stillness. It terrifies them, because when you offer no emotional hooks, no exposed cracks, no map of your insecurities, they have nothing to grip. Their power depends on access. And when you stop giving it, the game ends before it begins. Most people hand over that access without realizing it. They call it connection, they call it honesty, but often it's surrender. They reveal their fears too soon, the things that keep them awake at night, the dreams they're afraid to fail at, the old wounds they hope no one will touch. And standing across from them is someone who smiles kindly while taking notes. The Stoics understood this long before the world gave it names. Epictetus once said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. A manipulator studies those judgments. They learn what you fear and twist it until you lose sight of yourself." Their questions sound innocent. Their tone is gentle, but every word is a thread pulling at the seams of your confidence. Now imagine this. A young architect lands his first major project, a moment that should feel like victory. Years earlier, he confessed to a colleague that his greatest fear was disappointing his father, a man who never believed in his creative path. When the good news spreads, that same colleague corners him and says with a smirk, "Don't mess it up. I heard your father still isn't impressed." In a heartbeat, the architect's excitement fades into self-doubt. His fear, once buried, rises again, not because the words were cruel, but because they were precise. That is how fear becomes a weapon. It doesn't strike from outside, it turns your own thoughts against you. Here's the truth. Your fears are not just feelings, they are instruments, and in the wrong hands, they become tools of control. The Stoic does not hide from fear, nor do they deny it. They examine it, they master it, they hold it up to the light until its edges dull. A disciplined mind is like a fortress. It reflects before it reveals. It listens twice before speaking once. It responds, but it does not react. Calm is not suppression, it's strategy. You don't have to be emotionless. You just need to be intentional. Before you share your struggles, pause. Ask yourself, will revealing this bring understanding or control? Will this person hold it with compassion or with calculation? Most manipulators wear the mask of a listener. They nod with empathy while quietly memorizing your soft spots. Your fear of rejection becomes their way to keep you close. Your fear of conflict becomes their permission to cross your line. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Freedom begins when you no longer hand the keys of your inner life to those who haven't earned them. Trust is not a gift, it's a currency, and not everyone deserves the same exchange rate. So, how do you build that kind of strength? You practice solitude, you write, you observe your thoughts without obeying them. You train yourself to face discomfort without explanation. Every moment of silence becomes a rep. Every unanswered question becomes armor. When someone tries to guilt you into compliance or provoke you into panic, remember, stillness is your sword. The one who remains calm in chaos holds the higher ground. Because when you respond with stillness instead of fear, you become unreadable. And what they can't read, they can't predict. What they can't predict, they can't control. But let's be clear, mastery over fear is not about pretending to be fearless. It's about refusing to be ruled. Courage, in the Stoic sense, is the quiet act of facing what frightens you without surrendering to it. Most fears evaporate when you examine them closely. They shrink under the weight of reason, and even when they don't, you still move forward, because virtue demands action, not comfort. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is what separates strength from show. The strong do not announce their calm, they embody it. They are the unmoved stone amid the storm. So the next time someone reaches for your emotions, fishing for something to use against you, let them find nothing. No panic, no confession, no need to explain. Offer silence instead of reaction. Offer stillness instead of surrender. Because silence cannot be twisted and calm cannot be cornered. The wise man does not turn to stone, he builds a fortress within. Not to block the world out, but to decide who enters. That fortress is built on clarity, on the understanding that your peace is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. Guard it like something holy. Speak less, but mean every word. Share less, but give it depth. Feel deeply, but reveal wisely. And when the manipulators come, and they always do, stand still in your truth. Because outsmarting evil does not require deceit. It requires mastery, not noise, but control, not defense, but awareness. And when you reach that level of calm, when your mind becomes your ally instead of your enemy, you'll find that those who once tried to pull your strings no longer even know where they are. Their reach shortens, their power fades. That's when you'll know you've stopped playing their game altogether. And now, as we move forward, let's step into the next test. Once you've guarded your fears, there's another trap waiting, one even subtler, one that preys not on your emotions, but on your judgment. Because the moment you stop guarding what you feel, they start attacking what you believe. Let's go there. Moving into the second chapter, the air changes. It's quieter now, but sharper, like a blade drawn in the dark. Here is where manipulation no longer hides behind charm. It hides behind belief. The most dangerous traps are not the ones that make you bleed. They're the ones that make you trust. There's an old saying, truth walks slowly, but lies run marathons. And in this world of half-heard headlines and quick impressions, lies are sprinting. They race through conversations, through glowing screens, through whispers that reach you before reason does. Evil doesn't always arrive with malice. Sometimes it wears the calm voice of concern. Sometimes it looks like someone who understands, but what it truly seeks is not your pain. It seeks your agreement. A manipulator does not need your fear if they already have your faith. The moment you believe without questioning, you hand them the reins. They don't conquer you with force. They conquer you with your own certainty. And once that's gone, everything else follows. The Stoics warned us long before the noise of modern life began. Epictetus said, "If someone speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself. Simply answer, 'He was unaware of my other faults,' or he would have mentioned them." His point was never about cleverness. It was about composure. Power hides in calm skepticism. Freedom lives in the pause between what you hear and what you choose to believe, because that pause right there is your fortress. You see, deceit feeds on haste. Lies crave urgency. They whisper, "Act now. Decide fast." Don't think truth, on the other hand, never hurries. It walks with quiet dignity. It does not plead for belief. It earns it. That's why those who stand in stillness, who refuse to be rushed, often become immune to illusion. Now picture this. A man named Joel works in a small firm, steady, capable, respected. One day, a new employee arrives, full of confidence and easy smiles. Within weeks, this newcomer, let's call him Marcus, seems to know everything about everyone, who feels overlooked, who seeks validation, who craves recognition. He listens more than he speaks, nodding in all the right places, planting seeds of doubt disguised as sympathy. He tells Joel, "I heard the management doesn't really see your potential, but I do. They're blind to your talent." Flattered, Joel opens up. He shares frustrations, unspoken worries. Soon, Marcus feeds him more. "They're giving your ideas to someone else. People are talking about you," and Joel believes. He starts withdrawing from his team. Suspicion creeps in like smoke through a locked door. Until one day, it all erupts, an accusation, a confrontation, and Joel learns the truth. The rumors were false. The tension was manufactured. Marcus had been aiming for Joel's position all along. He never had to attack. He simply whispered the right words and let belief do the rest. That's how cunning works. It lets you build your own prison and then thanks you for the effort. When you believe without scrutiny, you give others the power to shape your world. And once your perception is stolen, your freedom goes with it. But a Stoic does not rush to believe. They don't cling to cynicism either. They live in deliberate trust, a kind that's earned, not assumed. The Stoic asks, where does this information come from? What does this person gain by making me think this way? Is this truth, or is it comfort dressed as truth? This is the art of slow belief, not delay for delay's sake, but the careful craftsmanship of understanding. Like a sculptor chiseling marble, you shape your thoughts slowly, patiently, ensuring no false piece remains. Because if you build your life on words you haven't tested, your foundation is not strength, it's sand. Remember this: truth doesn't panic. Truth doesn't shout. It doesn't rush you. But lies, they scream. They press for quick reactions. They promise safety if you obey, urgency if you hesitate. That's when you pause. That's when you say, "Let me see, let me ask, let me think," Marcus Aurelius wrote. "Be like the rock against which the waves break, and it stands unmoved, while the raging of the sea falls still around it." That is how you protect your mind. Let the noise crash, but do not absorb it. Hear everything, believe little, understand deeply. Because manipulators are not afraid of your strength, they're afraid of your clarity. They fear the person who pauses before speaking, who questions before agreeing, who withholds judgment until the evidence is undeniable. That kind of mind cannot be pulled by invisible strings. So train yourself to ask hard questions, not only of others, but of yourself. Am I believing this because it's true or because it's comforting? Am I reacting because I trust the source or because I fear what happens if I don't? Every time you resist the pull of easy belief, you reclaim a piece of your power. And little by little, you stop being the one who's led. You become the one who chooses. That is a rare kind of freedom, the kind that cannot be stolen because it no longer depends on anyone's words. Let others rush to conclusions. Let them chase every rumor, react to every echo, drown in every false urgency. You, the Stoic, will remain still, not unmoved out of pride, but out of wisdom, not detached from life, but anchored in truth. You'll stand in that sacred pause, calm amid the storm, watching the game unfold, and you'll choose not to play. Because clarity is the ultimate defense. The moment you guard your mind, deceit runs out of oxygen. The storm still rages, but it can't touch you. You've become the rock Marcus Aurelius spoke of, steady, silent, unbroken. From that stillness, clarity begins to unfold like morning light after the storm. Once you've learned to protect your mind from illusion, the next challenge begins. Not every danger hides in deception. Some come dressed as joy, as warmth, as victory. The Stoics knew it well. What blinds us most often isn't pain, it's pleasure. Let's step into that next test. Let's talk about how to pause before joy betrays you. Advancing to the third chapter, the light changes. After the storm of deceit, here comes the gentler danger, one that wears a smile. Joy, bright, disarming, and so very human. But within its warmth lies a trap few recognize. Happiness is a beautiful feeling, yet it leaves the door wide open. Because when the heart dances too freely, reason often sits down. It's easy to think our greatest vulnerability shows when we're broken, but it's in our brightest moments that we often forget the need for armor. The Stoics saw this with piercing clarity. They did not condemn joy, they revered it. But they knew unguarded joy can blind. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart," yet he warned, "No emotion, not even joy, should be allowed to overthrow reason." That's the balance, the art of celebrating without surrendering judgment. Now imagine this. A man named Elias finally earns what he's worked for years to achieve, his dream role, creative director at a renowned firm. For a time, everything glows. Celebration fills his days. Admiration fills the air. Then an old acquaintance appears, smiling, congratulating, speaking the language of friendship. "You've made it," he says, "and I have something special for you. An opportunity I'm sharing with no one else." Elias, still basking in victory, nods before thinking. He invests. 6 months later, the opportunity vanishes, along with the man. What remains is not just financial loss, but a deeper wound, the loss of trust. Why did he fall for it? Because in his joy, he stopped thinking. His reason, the same reason that carried him to success, had fallen asleep under the comfort of praise, and while his logic rested, deceit went to work. This is how cunning minds operate. They wait for the music to get loud enough to drown your caution. They strike not when you're weak, but when you're distracted by your own triumph. Now, picture another scene. Olivia, newly engaged, surrounded by laughter, gifts, and endless toasts to love. Her heart is wide open. Her fiancé's brother pulls her aside with a quiet favor. "Since you're family now, could you help us cover some last-minute costs? Just a small loan." She hesitates but doesn't want to dim the joy of the moment, so she agrees. Then another request follows, then another. Eventually, when she sets a boundary, she's labeled selfish, and her joy, once pure, turns into regret. Two people, two victories turned sour. Both fell into the same snare, the illusion that good feelings mean good intentions. They mistook warmth for virtue, smiles for sincerity. But the Stoic knows better. Joy is not the enemy, it is the test. When you're angry, you might say something you regret. But when you're happy, you might agree to something you'll regret. The danger is equal on both ends of emotion. One burns you with rage, the other blinds you with light. That's why the wise celebrate inwardly, but act outwardly with clarity. Joy is meant to be felt, not followed. It's a gift to experience, not a compass to guide decisions. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Let your actions be ruled by principle, not by impulse." True joy, the kind that endures, doesn't demand to be displayed. It's steady, humble, anchored in virtue rather than circumstance. The Stoic's happiness is not loud. It is rooted. It doesn't vanish when applause fades. It doesn't lose itself in flattery. It smiles without needing to prove anything. So how do we practice this? By learning to pause before pleasure makes promises we can't keep. When something good happens, a raise, an award, an unexpected compliment, breathe. Write it down if you must. Wait before you decide. Let the heat of excitement cool into the light of reason. I've followed one simple rule for years. Whenever something excites me, I wait 48 hours before saying yes. If the idea still feels right after stillness, I proceed. If it fades, I let it go. That small delay has saved me from countless regrets. This is not hesitation, it's discipline. Joy, when guided by discipline, becomes wisdom. Without it, joy becomes debt. Because manipulators prefer your happiness to your sadness. They know that sadness makes you cautious, but happiness, it makes you generous, trusting, eager to share your light with anyone who asks for it. And in that eagerness, you forget that not everyone who claps for you is cheering for you. The Stoics called this awareness the shield of reason, a calm joy, a joy that honors the moment without surrendering the mind. When you practice this, no victory can corrupt you, no praise can distort you, and no flattery can move you from your ground. So the next time success finds you, pause. Take it in, but don't act until you've breathed through it. Ask yourself, what am I agreeing to? Who benefits most from this choice? Would I still say yes if my heart were calm? These are not cynical questions. They are the questions that protect your peace. Seneca once wrote, "Fortune blinds us when she favors us most." Remember that? When the light of joy is brightest, that's when the shadows are hardest to see. So celebrate with awareness. Laugh, but stay awake. Be grateful, but stay grounded. The Stoic's joy is not fragile, it's fortified. Because real confidence is not the freedom to say yes to everything. It's the strength to say, let me think about it. And when you master that pause, when joy can no longer deceive you, you'll find a rare kind of happiness. One that can't be taken. From here, the journey deepens. For once you've learned to guard your joy, another test awaits, one quieter, but even more dangerous. It's not about how much you give, but how easily others can take. Let's move there now. Let's talk about the art of setting limits, not lifelines. At this stage, the air feels heavier, the lessons grow sharper, because what comes next is one of the quietest, yet most powerful weapons used by those who feed on control, the trap of indebtedness. It doesn't arrive with threats. It arrives with a favor, small, innocent, almost kind. But behind it, a silent calculation begins. Manipulators know the nature of decent hearts. They understand that most people, those raised on respect, gratitude and fairness, carry an instinct to repay what's been given. Reciprocity, after all, is the invisible thread that holds relationships together. When it's pure, it builds trust. But when it's poisoned, it builds cages. This is where your awareness must rise like a sentry at the gate. Because if you don't define your limits, someone else will write them for you. The Stoics warned against this long before modern minds gave it a name. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." In other words, never act from guilt, only from alignment. To act out of guilt is to betray yourself before you even begin. Those who manipulate rarely demand outright. They plant guilt like a seed and wait for it to grow. They help you move once and later expect your silence. They lend you money, and the next time you hesitate, they whisper, "After everything I've done for you." Their kindness is a contract written in invisible ink, and the ink appears only when they need control. Now imagine this: a woman named Natalie, bright, hardworking, hopeful. Early in her career, she found a mentor, her manager, Paul. He guided her through her first presentation, spoke well of her to higher-ups, and opened doors she thought were locked. Naturally, she was grateful. She trusted him. Then one day, Paul began to ask for small favors. "Cover for me in this meeting. Stay late just this once. You're good with words. Fix this report for me." Each time she hesitated, he'd smile and say, "You owe me this much, don't you?" What began as gratitude slowly became servitude, until the day he crossed the final line. He asked her to alter data in a client report. When she froze, he said the words that revealed the truth behind his mask. "I gave you your start." Don't forget that was the moment the illusion broke. Natalie realized his mentorship had never been a gift. It was bait. Gratitude, she learned, can become a leash if you let it be pulled by guilt. A Stoic repays kindness not with submission, but with integrity. You thank the giver, you remember the act, but you never hand over your conscience as collateral. Because the moment guilt begins to guide your decisions, you're no longer giving freely, you're being guided. Seneca wrote, "No man can live a happy life if he turns everything to his own purposes. Yet no man can live a fulfilled life if he gives everything away without thought. Generosity without boundaries is not virtue, it's erosion." Another story. Kevin, part of a small community project known for his reliability. When he struggled to find housing, an organizer named Linda helped him secure a place. It was a kind act, genuine at first glance. Kevin, grateful, promised he'd return the favor someday. Months later, she came asking. First, small things, signing his name on forms, taking her shift, smoothing over her mistakes. Then came the impossible. "Lie for me," she said, "just this once." When Kevin hesitated, she leaned closer and whispered, "Where would you be if I hadn't helped you?" That's when he understood. Gratitude had been turned into a chain. This is how the trap works. They give so they can claim. They do small good deeds to build an invisible debt in your mind. Every time you act from fear of seeming ungrateful, the chain tightens. A Stoic's heart is generous, but his will is sovereign. You serve with conviction, not compulsion. You help because it's right, not because someone once helped you. So, how do you know where the line lies? First, look inward. Ask, am I acting from principle or from pressure? If it's the latter, pause. Second, measure the cost, not just in hours or energy, but in peace, dignity, and clarity. If your yes leaves a bitter taste, it's probably a no that should have been spoken. And third, watch the balance. Does this relationship flow both ways, or only toward their gain? When giving starts to hollow you, it's no longer giving, it's giving in. You are allowed to say no, even to those who once lifted you, even to those you love, especially to those who remind you of your debt, because your worth is not determined by how much of yourself you give away. It's measured by how faithfully you guard what should never be sold, your reason, your integrity, your peace. A quiet, firm "I can't do that" is a complete sentence. You owe no justifications, no essays, no guilt-filled explanations. When someone tries to make you feel small for setting limits, understand this: that discomfort you feel is not selfishness, it's growth. And the voice calling you selfish is not truth, it's manipulation in disguise. You do not exist to keep others comfortable. You are not a vessel for someone else's unfinished business. Your life is not a ledger of favors to repay. True generosity comes from freedom, not obligation. A gift that demands obedience was never a gift, it was a test. A test of whether you'd trade your boundaries for approval. Do not pass that test by failing yourself. Let your decisions come from clarity, not guilt. From reason, not fear. From alignment, not pressure. Because when you honor your limits, you don't just protect yourself, you teach others how to meet you in truth. And remember this: you are not ungrateful for guarding your peace. You are wise for understanding that peace is not a debt, it's a discipline. So, the next time someone says, "After all I've done for you," pause. Smile gently and think, "After all I've done for myself, I can't betray that now." That is the moment you step out of the trap. And from that freedom, the next lesson rises. Once you've learned to protect your boundaries, the challenge evolves again. Because silence, if wielded with wisdom, can become the sharpest blade of all. Let's move forward. Let's explore the art of protecting what you reveal. Entering the 5th chapter, the tone shifts again. The battlefield is no longer made of visible conflict, but of words, soft, flattering, and disarming. In a world that praises openness, we forget that not every question is born of kindness. Some questions are not bridges, but traps. And not everyone who listens seeks to understand you. Some listen only to map your weaknesses. The Stoics knew this danger well. They valued clarity, but they also valued restraint. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." It wasn't just about humility, it was defense. A way to protect the inner citadel, that sacred place where peace begins, because what you reveal too easily becomes the map others use to reach what you should guard. Manipulators rarely reveal themselves. They don't argue, they observe, they smile, nod, and keep you talking, not to comfort, but to collect. They are harvesters of vulnerability. The more you share, the more they own. Your words become tools. Your honesty becomes exposure. Think of Michael, a kind man who prided himself on openness. At his new job, he befriended Darren, a co-worker who seemed genuinely interested in his story. Darren asked about his past, his ambitions, his fears. Michael shared freely, flattered by the attention. Weeks later, during a performance review, his manager repeated phrases only Darren had heard. Lacks confidence, family distractions. Unsure of belonging, Darren hadn't lied. He hadn't needed to. He'd simply let Michael hand him the truth, and then used it. Manipulators don't always deceive you with falsehoods. They let you speak yourself into weakness. They don't steal your secrets. They wait for you to give them away. But Stoicism isn't about closing your heart or mistrusting everyone. It's about discernment, knowing when, how, and to whom your truth belongs. Vulnerability given wisely is strength. But when poured out carelessly, it becomes a weapon turned against you. Would you leave your door open just because someone smiled? Would you show a stranger you're safe because they asked nicely? Of course not. Yet emotionally, people do this every day. They mistake curiosity for care. They confuse attention for intimacy. Lena made the same mistake. After a painful breakup, She turned to her cousin Rachel, who listened for hours, but never shared anything of her own. A week later, Lena's private pain was retold as gossip. What broke her wasn't heartbreak, it was betrayal. Both Lena and Michael gave too much, too soon, to those who hadn't earned it. They mistook warmth for sincerity. Real connection is mutual. If someone only asks but never answers, you're not in a dialogue, you're in an interrogation. The Stoics would smile at this modern world of endless talk and quietly remind us, not every truth deserves to be spoken. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't have to fill every pause with a story or every question with confession. Let time test who deserves your truth. The right people will wait, the wrong ones will grow impatient. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, but it's also shaped by the company it keeps and the truths it gives away too freely." Every time you speak, you give someone a piece of yourself. Make sure they know how to hold it. You are not cold for being cautious. You are not rude for being reserved. You are wise for recognizing that your inner world is sacred. You owe no one your history, your scars, or your silence-breaking story just because they ask for it. And if someone makes you feel guilty for protecting your peace, remember that guilt is not truth. It's manipulation in disguise. You don't need to speak less. You need to choose better. Because your past, your pain, your victories, they are not public property. They are sacred chapters meant only for those who have earned your trust. Some will misunderstand your restraint. Let them. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to walk in clarity. A person who guards what they reveal moves through life with quiet power. They're unreadable, not because they hide, but because they're whole. And that wholeness cannot be picked apart by casual curiosity. If you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling lighter, safe, and seen, that was someone who deserved your truth. But if you've ever left feeling drained, exposed, uneasy, trust that instinct. It's not paranoia, it's wisdom. Listen to it, honor it, protect it. Because your peace is not something to share, it's something to preserve. When you learn to guard what you reveal, their masks will fall on their own, and you'll see how powerless deceit truly is before a quiet mind. You owe nothing to those who seek to use your openness. What you owe is to yourself, to your peace, to the calm mind that no mask or manipulation can touch. The world can be dark and deceptive, but light belongs to those who move with awareness. Wisdom is not born from suspicion, but from clarity. It is the art of staying gentle without being naive, strong without being hardened, silent without being passive. If something in this message awakened a new strength in you, take a quiet step toward growth. Subscribe to stay close to this path of calm power and steady mastery. Every lesson is another layer of armor, not against the world, but for your inner peace. And before you leave, write one simple phrase in the comments: stay sharp. Let it be your quiet vow to guard your mind, protect your peace, and keep your spirit untouchable. Remember, wisdom is not loud. It speaks in calm choices and consistent actions. Keep growing in silence, keep walking in clarity, and when the world tests your calm, smile inwardly, because you now know how to win without playing dirty. The next lesson will take you even deeper into that strength.